So when you're 3D printing from a ZBrush file or ZBrush model, you might want to improve the detail a little bit, and you might want to pump up the surface detail. And this video is all about using something called contrast in a few different forms. So let's dive right into ZBrush, and we'll use it on a basic model, and then we'll use it on a fully worked out piece that's going to be ready for 3D print. So let's start off with some of the basics. So we'll just take a sphere. I'll choose a material that can really help you see what I'm doing. Shift and F will show you the wireframe so you can see what I'm doing. The basics of starting anything in ZBrush, we'll just go through them. So we'll make Polymesh 3D. So we've got basically a sphere that's editable now. If you don't do that, if you don't do make Polymesh 3D, you won't be able to sculpt on it. And we want to use something called Dynamesh, which will give us a lot more average polygons across the surface. And I've got it pulled out here on the menu. So if you hit it there, you can see what it's done. It's just averaged it. If I happen to have pulled the surface around using something like the move tool like this, and then I use this Dynamesh by holding down Control and striking, it then averages it again. So every time I move, it would do that. So that's what's going on underneath. If I want more polygons, if I want to work with a higher resolution, I'm just going to subdivide, which is Control and D, and you can see the points going up there each time I subdivide. So that's a lot more polygons to work with now. And then if I hold Shift, I can smooth some of them down. So that's just the basics of getting this sphere going. But what I want to do is work on the surface and show you what the basically where we can use contrast and why we want contrast. So if I use something like Standard Brush, and I use one of these alphas, so some of these are I've imported and some of these are the standard alphas. So we'll just pick something that's like a skin, something like this, and then I use a low focal shift and a low intensity, and then we'll go up here and we'll change the stroke type to, in fact it's already on stroke drag, so I want to drag it onto the surface rather than draw it on. So you'll see what happens if I do that. I get that kind of effect on the surface. And if I hold down Alt, I'll get that kind of effect. And if I hold down Shift now and smooth, it smooths it back. So with that combination, what I can do is I can start playing with those settings, and I can start just making a kind of a skin texture. And this could be for a dragon, it could be for whatever creature you happen to be working on. And then you would go in, you've got some surface detail there now, and then you could go in and you could add more scales or pimples or change it to another alpha and add more detail, something completely different like this. More intensity gives you more depth, but you don't want to go to that level at this stage if you can help it. Now, if you want to use the contrast brushes and say this was a finished product, which we'll look at in a minute, there's a couple of ways that we want to be able to add that extra detail. So one of the things that we can do is we can just use the contrast deformation panel. So if you come to Tool, open that up and look at deformation, down here is a contrast slider here. And if you drag it to the right, it will increase the amount of height and depth. And you've got to be careful. Can you see these little looks like squares? That's because the model wasn't, when it was subdivided, it was still not flat. So if I smooth that down before I do it, I'll just show you. So all I'm doing is holding down Shift and smoothing that area. And you can use things like flatten, which is another brush. So if you don't know how to do it, it would be B for brush and F for flatten, and flatten is actually A, so it's BFA would give us flatten, and that would give you some flat areas like that. So with a combination of flatten and smooth, you smooth them out, and then now you'll see if I use contrast, it won't affect those areas quite as much because it's not pushing them out or pushing them in. You can see the areas I haven't smoothed out. But let's go back a little bit and let's just see what's actually happening through the mesh so you understand. And I'm just doing Control and Z, or you can use this history slider here to go back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slice through the middle of it and show you what's happening. So if I use Control, Shift and drag, and if it's green, everything green will remain. Everything that wasn't green will now be hidden. and it looks like it's missing there, but obviously the back faces aren't showing. So we can just go to, come down here, and we can just go to display properties and double. So that will give us double-sided. And then what we want to do is just zoom right into a slice like that. And now I want to show you again what we're doing with contrast and why it's important. So if you come back up here to your deformation panel, and then if you, I'll make that brush smaller so you can at least see it on the screen. And then if you do the contrast, just watch what happens to the high bits and the low bits. So if I do that, you can see that the lows get lower and the highs get higher. So it exaggerates both ways. And that's good and bad. You can see how it's going off a bit crazy here because it's gone too far. So you wouldn't want to go that far with using contrast. You may in certain areas of the mesh, which we'll come to later, but actually using this as a method of increasing the detail is one that you have to be subtle with. So let's do it again with everything hidden. So Control-Shift-Click will bring it so the whole thing's back. And now if I do it, you can see just by moving it left and right, you can see how it's pushing that detail. It's almost pulsing there because I'm literally pushing it like that. So that works really, really well. Now what you can do is you can mask off an area. So if you didn't want to, so all you would need to do is use, I'm actually using Control and then up here, I'm clicking the top one, and I would use something like, first of all I could use Mask Rectangle. Oops, do it wrong. Mask Rectangle would mask a block off like that. And if I want to go back to where I was, I'd go back and I'd use Mask Lasso. And then the Mask Lasso gives us the ability to shape. And remember, if you're doing masking, you can move your mask. So if I paint like that and hold down spacebar, I can move that around. If I'm doing that and I hold down Alt and then spacebar, I can move it around but also remove from it. So there's some good ones to remember. And that's masked now. So if I now use the contrast again, that's going to just pump the areas that aren't masked. So if I unmask it, you'll see exactly what's happened. So that's good for controlling areas like hair and fur, and you know, specifically areas that are going to have more detail than you want from the other areas. So, but what happens if you want even more control than that? So what you can do is use the brushes. So if we come over to the brush panel, and we'll just go, we'll just do it by using the shortcut. So it's B, and I want to use contrast, so it's C, and then you've got two here. You've got contrast delta and contrast target. So first of all, we're going to use contrast target. I use this the least, if I'm honest, but I'll show you first. So as you brush with contrast target, it will do what the contrast slider does, but just under the area of the brush. And the reason I don't use it as much is it's got a defined height. So it's based over here in the brush settings, but it's like a layer brush, so it will only go to a given height and won't go any more than that. What I do like is the other one, which is brush, and then we want to go C for contrast, and then we know the other one is contrast delta, so that's 0. Now contrast delta is kind of no holes barred, so wherever you want now, you can just keep going, and the height will just keep going and going and going. So I find that one a little bit more useful. So that's how these tools work. Let's go and have a look at them on a model and see how we can apply them and see where they work in the real world. So let's switch over to like a creature. So let's bring in this bad boy. So this is a Guanji from a really old film called Valley of the Guanji that I've been ready to send to print. I'm going to change the material a little bit because it's always good to have a look at it with different materials. You can see he's got quite a lot of surface detail, but again, if I printed him small, then a lot of that detail might be lost. So let's think about what we've already done, and let's think about the three things that we've tried. So first of all, let's say for example we want to increase the overall depth of these scales across the whole body. So we come over to deformation and we look down and we look at, let's make sure he's on the high res. Now he's 51 million there, so I would normally leave him on that, but just for you I'm going to go down 1 to 12 million, just simply because I want it to operate a bit faster. And I'll just do contrast and just pump that up. So as you can see now, it just pumps that detail. Even just with one slide, we've got twice the detail already. So if you were going to print this really small, you'd want to be using something like that. And obviously you can go higher. I'll do one more higher, and you'll see now it's going to really push it, and possibly pushing it too much. But you can really change the look and feel of the 3D print once you get to this stage. It really does have a huge effect on you. Now I'll just undo those, undo both of them there, you see. Now if you want to have them on a slider going bigger and smaller, what you can do is before you do the deformation and contrast, you can go layer and then hit plus. You need to be on the highest subdivision level. So just for today, I will delete that higher subdivision level. Just go higher, delete higher. Now we would normally be working on the higher, but I don't want to. So we go layer, plus, and we've now got a layer that's being recorded. And now we can do our work on it. So what were we in? It was down here under contrast, deformation, and then contrast, and then just increase that contrast. So instead of doing the 1 this time, we're going to do maybe 2 or even maybe 3 and make it go really way over the top. And there's 3. So this is way over the top now. It probably would cause us, there might even be problems with the mesh at that level. But what we can do, and this gives you maximum flexibility, is you can now go back to that layer, turn the recording off, and now you've got a slider. So that slider will give you all the way back to nothing. If you want to get back to the middle, just hold shift as you drag it to the middle and it goes to the dead center. And then you can just slide that slider up and it gives you an increase each time, and you can go back. So that gives you ultimate control over it, and that's the way I'd suggest you do a lot of surfacing, is have it in layers so that you can always try and adjust it back and forth as you need it for the job. So that's working fine. So let's just bring that layer back to where it was, like so. And I will actually, I'm going to bake that down. So it basically means that there's no layer there now. I've got rid of it. So let's just have a quick look at contrast target, and let's say I want to really push the details around this head. There's not all I want to really do is push the eye, for example. So go right the way down on a small brush, small focal shift, small intensity for now, and we'll just brush around and see what we get. And as you can see there, it's pushing that detail very carefully. It's especially where you can see scales. If I run it around these scales, you can see them getting deeper and deeper as we go, like so. And the same with, if I did contrast delta, it's just, remember, it just has that restriction on a like a layer basis, as in layer height. And that's how you would just push that little bit of detail into those specific areas. There are other ways to do it, which I'm not really going to cover much in this particular video. One way that I used to do it, will be a good one just to quickly show you, would be to mask and then say mask by cavity. So what it'll actually do there is it will mask anything that's low. You saw it go dark there, and what that means is now all the areas that are in or dipped in are now all masked. This is a great way of painting actually, because what you can do is now mask those areas. You can do Control and I and invert them, for example, and that gives you a really cool way to paint dinosaur scales. It instantly gives you the ability to either paint the scale top or the scale bottom, and even just with that one little thing you can see that looks much more like a dinosaur straight away. Let me just get back out, zoom back out. But what you can do is, I'll do Control and I and invert it again, which means that the cavities are all masked. And now what you could do is go deformation, and you could now just use something like inflate, which will inflate it like a balloon all the way around. You can either do inflate balloon or inflate. I'll do it once, but it won't look very good, I don't think. See how it's gone too far. So you do have to be super subtle with this one. So a tiny increase, like so. This, I used to do this when you need quite a dramatic change. So something like a rock surface that really needs to pop. But that's a good one to remember as well. You've got much more control with contrast now than we used to ever have with inflate, I find. And that's basically how you can pop those details just before you send it to print. Now what we'd normally do is we'd merge them all together with merge all or merge visible, and then do a decimation to bring it down to a decent level of polygons, and then send it out to print. And then you get anything that's got skin and scales and bark, or anything that's got that really heavy surface detail might benefit from getting something of an increase like this. I hope you're enjoying these videos, and if you are, especially now we're looking at ZBrush finally. I've been 23 years in ZBrush, so it's about time I got these videos online. So I'm going to do more and more of these. So if you're a Nomad sculptor and you're moving up and you want to start moving into a more industry adopted package, well, ZBrush is the one that I teach the most. So please join along with us as we start exploring some of this. And if not, we're still going to do lots of Nomad videos in the future anyway. So have a great week, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell, and we'll let you know when we're posting more of these videos. Have a great week.